Hello, everyone. This is Wes Miller with Pigskins and Pageantry, a podcast dedicated to all things SEC football and proud member of Blue Wire Hustle. Join me, Jessi, and Matt each week as we discuss last week's games, news around the league, predictions for next week's matchups, and more. And what's up, everybody? It's Wes. The national championship game is complete. And after 41 years, the Georgia Bulldogs are finally champions. I still can't really believe it. I'm still soaking it in. Although, as you can tell, I know not everyone is quite as excited as I am, so I'm not going to get into it just yet. But we are privileged to be joined by a very special guest today. But first, let's recap the game, and with me to do so is our resident Tennessee fan, Matt. How are you, my friend?
The proverbial world is upside down, as they say in Hamilton. I'm shocked. I'm aghast. We'll get into it, but that was a hell of a good game. So kudos to Georgia, I guess.
Jessi, I'll let you introduce our guest, but first, how are things? I mean, I can see how they are, but
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, see, you got the look too. It's great.
She's about as quiet as our boy Bryce was over here during that. Six. I don't know if you saw.
I know.
You may not have seen her.
Not even introduced yet, and he's cracking.
Somebody woke up and chose violence today. I did my best to keep quiet and cordial and just aggressive.
Yeah.
Aggressive. We've been through so much. Okay.
You've been through so much. You've been through so much.
But listen, somebody who's been through a lot was really George Pickens here, doing the karate for my boys Jameson Williams and Mechie, knowing that who the true champions are this year. That's it. Now George has been.
Wes, I feel like you should introduce Benedict Arnold over here.
Jessi hasn't even said his name yet, and we're already.
I won't. Can't. I was gonna say the only Georgia player I ever supported or will ever support, and now I feel like I should rescind that.
Jessi, listen, I have had 28 years of build-up for this one moment, so I'm sorry, I got to do it.
36.
I got it.
Welcome to my ex-friend and former Georgia Bulldog, Jack Loonam.
Hello, all. I'm about as excited to be here as the entire team was here during the Keely Ringo celebration.
Did you just make a slideshow?
Are we going to do this all night?
I love the thought.
Because I can go ahead and get off and let you three knock this thing out. I don't need this.
I love the thought that Jack had. He put a lot of thought into this, his whole intro.
I'll see y'all in Cali next year.
Oh my God.
All right, I'm done.
Oh man, I love it.
The audacity.
Oh man.
I'm here for content, guys.
All right, well, there's only one game to talk about, so let's go ahead and talk about it.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right.
I don't like that
you hear that, Jessi? You're last. You're last.
Listen, Jessi, if you ain't first, you are last. It's a hard truth to realize, but welcome to the new world.
Okay, I'm all right with Georgia winning, just to watch Jessi in this moment of despair. I'm all right with this.
I cried.
As you should have.
I cried too. It was a little bit different tears, but yeah, it was, yeah.
I was around people that don't know me that well.
Yeah.
That we just became friends, and they're like, let's watch the game together.
Oh gosh, did they say it like that?
And then Jessi decided, I'm never watching the game with you again.
Right.
No, I won't. No,
instant enemies.
And I'm just and I'm cleaning up my stuff, and they're like, are you, it's going to be okay. I was like, I know it's fine. I know it's illogical, and I didn't play. I'm going to go home. And they're like,
it's what fandom's all about.
I don't know if they're going to want to hang out with me anymore.
Yeah.
They're Clemson people. They don't get it.
Oh, yeah.
They should get it. They've been there.
They did for a little bit there. Not so much lately.
South Carolina fans or something.
There was a few of those, but Clemson is new money. They're
They're just they got to get used to it. It's like they don't understand the etiquette of it. So anyway,
they're still holding on to the last couple of years. That's all they can say.
Yeah. Anyway, this was obviously an intense game with Georgia winning 33-18. I was the only one to pick Georgia.
Wait, say it again.
33-18, winning 33-18. That's right.
Just want to make sure I heard you right.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Okay.
I've
been conditioned to be on the losing
right?
end of that for a lot of time, so I want to make sure I wasn't dreaming.
Hey,
every
there with
Georgia
you.
fan woke up Tuesday morning thinking, "Was this a dream?" Am
Exactly.
I wrong?
I would up the same way.
I did have to think about it for a little bit. Yeah, I'm there with you.
Nightmares are dreams too.
I told because Matt and I watched the game at a restaurant here close by, and I believe it was in the third quarter. And I looked at Matt and I was like, "Dude, this is not good for my heart." I was like, "It's just insane." But like,
neither was the buffalo chicken dip. But here we are.
Well, this is true. We were just talking about that earlier, and I can't say no to it. I'm not gonna lie, but the first half
likes to live dangerously.
That's right. The first half was wild. I mean, like. It felt like one of those deals where the game was like on the edge of a knife, ready to just fall full force, like one way or the other. Both offenses, it's like they couldn't loosen up. It was 9-6 at half, which, by the way, apparently the strategy to beating Bama is you need to be losing at halftime, not winning. So I don't know if that's
should have been a bad omen for Jessi when it was 9-6.
It was. I kid you not.
Should have been a bad omen.
Brought up. Someone was like, "This reminds me of the LSU game of 2011." I was like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up."
And I actually have that in my notes here, reminiscent of the 2011 regular season game between them.
Well,
but yeah,
and it's funny to compare to that too, because that was the 9-6 game was in regular season, and we obviously lost to LSU at home. I was there; it was awful. And then we went on to be in the national championship with them. We were still in the BCS era at that point. And they didn't get past the 50-yard line. We dominated them. And so it goes back to that, what we were talking about last week. It's so hard to beat a team twice in one season. You've seen each other. You're more comfortable. It's super hard. So going into this game, I had those nerves because we had beaten them already. And I just wasn't sure that we'd be able to do it again. And obviously we didn't. So
can't do it.
I'd say that was the best defense I'd ever seen, the 2011 defense, before the revolution of football spinning up. And now I think it's our defense. But I give credit to Bama, that 2011 defense. We watched film on them. They were nasty, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously on a big pass play earlier in the second quarter, Jamison Williams went down with an injury. It turned out to be a torn ACL. Likely had a big impact on the game. But like I was telling Matt, even when it happened, I was like, I just kept thinking about like all the players that have come off the bench for Bama to beat us over the years. And I was like, in my mind, the defense, the offense, nobody can relax right now. Just because a playmaker is out, like that doesn't mean anything.
So sad.
Thankfully, early diagnosis seems to indicate that with surgery, Williams will make a full recovery and not lose his speed. So, keep that stock as well. So second half was like a different animal, though. Like both teams loosened up a little bit. It seemed like Georgia began to run the ball with some success in the third. But to me, the huge turning point in this game was after the Stetson Bennett fumble, which I thought was a really tough call, which set up Bama super short field, resulted in a 3-yard touchdown pass from Bryce Young to Cameron Latu to make it 18-13. After the failed 2-point conversion with 10-14 left in the game. But to me, the biggest moment was right after that, where instead of trying to be conservative, right, Stetson's just made a mistake. Instead of trying to be conservative, Monken opened up the playbook and let him throw it all over the field on the very next drive, finishing with that 40-yard touchdown pass to Mitchell to make it 19-18 Georgia after, the failed 2-point conversion as well. But Georgia was able to get a stop right after that, come back down, and like that, the design of that pass play to get Bowers open over there on the left. Oh man, that was fantastic. And
tight ends, baby.
Yes, I was going to say, I knew you could
tight
appreciate
ends,
that.
Baby.
So that got the lead to 26-18 with 3:33 left in the game. Still one possession game though. Like I was telling Matt, like I'm still not relaxing. I was like,
Jessi sees what's coming, and
it's
just
a one
I
possession.
know the
living
ending
the
of the
nightmare over.
story. I hate this story.
And I was like, I am not
Hey,
relaxing.
Jessi, you know what
right
I
now.
hated? I hated second 26 for 5 years, but you're gonna have to deal with it because that's what big girls and former champions do. Former champions.
Right. But yeah, it's like don't relax. But Bryce Young let him tried to lead him down the field to tie it. But on a 3rd and long, he threw one. I think he probably wouldn't attempt that one again, looking at the coverage. And it was intercepted by freshman Keely Ringo, who gathered a convoy, who escorted him to the end zone to kind of put the game away.
Wes, you mean this play?
That's
There
the
it
one
is.
right there.
You mean that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
And we're
the
back.
one.
And we're
I
back.
recognize that.
I just want to make sure that was the right play you're talking about. Okay. Cool.
Now I know David Pollock said he looked up in the stands right after this, and like over half of the grown adults in the stands are just in tears, because it's been 41 years, right, and with heartbreaking losses and what seemed like newly invented ways to lose every time. But man, like what a story for Stetson Bennett. As I mentioned before, like he's been doubted by people his entire career. I've even, doubted him, of course, as it's, documented on this show. But I do think that he was the guy for the moment, obviously, not just because he won, but because, he's the guy who got him there. I felt he deserved it. I mean, how could you do anything else? But he's a 2-star recruit who is ranked 104th in the national QB recruiting rankings and 2,569th overall. Like those numbers are such outliers in comparison to the other national championship winning quarterbacks in recent memory.
Hey, you're still ranked higher than me.
Well, I mean, it's like for when you look at the stats of other championship winning quarterbacks, like this is the huge outlier. I don't know if we're going to see something like this, at least anytime soon. Of course, who knows, but it still seems surreal to me. And with that, I'm done. That's all I've got for now. Jessi, I've been in your shoes more times than I care to count. Once in the national title game and countless other times. I know there's never like a quote unquote good time to talk about this, but what are your thoughts on the game?
I'm just glad we didn't do it yesterday. I don't know if I would have been as composed yesterday. I'm glad we took the time to let me process.
I didn't text you a lot on purpose. I wanted to just you have that space.
Jessi did good. She had really short text to me, which I knew she was in her feelings. So I understood
my feelings. But the sun did rise yesterday, surprisingly. I'm not going to stop thinking about the blocked field goal and that failed 2-point conversion for a long time. It's fine. I was a little surprised we went for 2. I understood it, but I was a little surprised on that one. Heck of a play to Georgia to block that field goal. That was also huge. Mm-hmm. And
Jalen Carter, a beast.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from the game, despite everything, obviously it was a crazy game. It was exciting to watch. It was stressful to watch, regardless of what side you were on, even if you didn't even like either team. It was just a good game to watch, which I feel like a lot of people didn't think it was going to be. For some reason, people thought, Bama would run away with it, and we didn't, obviously. But my biggest takeaway was the way that, number one, I really appreciated Kirby Smart asking about Jameson Williams. I thought that was really classy when the coaches met in the middle of the field. So, kudos to him. I think that was a really great way to kind of end it. And then in Saban's presser, I mean, you can tell, you can read the room, and I think he read the room really well. You have 2 team leaders that are sitting next to you that, number one, they know the mistakes that they've made. They are more disappointed and more frustrated than any fan is ever going to be. And then you have a group of reporters that are going to ask all these questions about what could you have done better and da-da-da-da-da. And they're focusing, rightfully so, on this one game. And for coach to say, hold on a minute, we're going to stop this right now before we leave. Let's say one thing. These men are not measured by one game. None of the teams are. Georgia's not measured by one game, whether they would have lost either. They had an incredible season. And these 2 young men did as well. And I think as a Bama fan, we should all be very proud the fact that we have a Heisman Trophy winner this year as a sophomore. We have an SEC title, which is huge. We have a Cotton Bowl win, among countless other individual awards. So for a team that everyone thought at the beginning of the season and after the loss to A&M that we were a down year. It was not going to be what it was. The Bama of old was gone. I think we should all be really, really proud of this team and what they were able to do and put together, rally after a Texas A&M loss, because this was a hell of a season. And, you know, regardless of who won, the SEC still won. And I think we needed to show people after all of those bowl losses that everybody else had, that the SEC is still a super strong conference. So I'm really, really proud of that. And I think we all know that Nick Saban doesn't like to lose, and he comes back stronger than ever. So the revenge tour starts now.
You know, I'd be perfectly willing to put up with a revenge tour if it means being able to have this moment right here. So, but yeah, no, they definitely don't have to hang their heads at all. Great season for one that they weren't necessarily expected to. You know, a lot of young guys on the team. So, Matt, what are your thoughts, my friend, as a person who doesn't have a dog in the fight?
As an impartial party that hates both teams. I thought. I mean,
okay, man. It feels like '98 here in Athens. So it's all good.
I'm glad it. Yeah, it ain't felt like '98.
But no, I like that you. I like that you hate us both, because for somebody that's like, oh, I'm impartial, but like I don't mind this one. I like that you have a hatred for both. I think it's a good opinion to have.
I told Wes, what did I say to you when we were sitting at dinner? I said, I made a very hyperbolic statement about how my hatred for University of Georgia, and I can't remember what
I don't remember it either.
But let me be very clear and put this on the record. I hate UGA. No offense, Jack. There is no bounds to the vitriol.
I have a lot of bad memories with Tennessee, so it's okay.
And that's okay. It's but we can all be respectful adults and not start fighting each other.
We can agree to disagree. It's a great.
We can agree to disagree. By the way, and West didn't bring it up, but there were the brewings of a fight happening between two very drunk individuals at the place we were eating at.
I left and I tried not to look. You know, one of those moments where you don't actually want to end up being a witness to anything, so you just don't look. That's what I did when I was leaving and pulling out of the parking lot. But yeah, it was an interesting atmosphere there. Anyway, continue.
It was very pro Georgia, but anyway, as an impartial party, this is probably one of the best national championship games I've seen in a really, really long time.
Yeah.
If I went back down the list of the ones that we've seen just in the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years, I don't remember one being this good. This thing was a defensive battle. I felt like I was watching an SEC championship from like 1988. Like, it was great. Both teams played a heck of a game. I really feel that the losing both wide receivers for Bama is what really made the difference here. No offense to UGA. Tua's been gone for a minute. Sorry about that. Bryce didn't have a chance to really stretch the field because of that, I feel. And he dropped back, what was it,
57 times.
Yeah, is that on par for him, Jessi? That seems like
not that much. Usually, I mean, our O-line has not been the O-line that has been in the past, and our right tackle gets beaten most of the time, regardless of which right tackle you put in. But no, he drops back a little bit, but not.
Wasn't it the high 40s in the SEC championship, something like that?
Yeah, I think he usually floats around those high 30s, mid 40s, somewhere in there. So that was an outlier that I noticed when I was looking at the stat line. But kudos to Georgia's defense. I mean, they were playing like men possessed in that second half.
They were.
Bama couldn't get anything. I mean, they got a little bit going there, but defense suffocated anything that got close. The fact that this score was 9-6 going into halftime was a testament to how good both of those defenses played. The story with Stetson Bennett is a great one. Again, if I can take my feelings out of the equation, I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to have a crap ton of Stetsons and Bennetts in my classes in about 10 or 12 years, because they're going to be out in droves, I'm sure.
There'll be a lot of Stetsons and Keeleys in Athens hospitals where my wife works at.
I guarantee, and you check the rosters in 9 months. I bet there's going to be quite a few.
Yep.
And I'm curious as to where we go from here. Is this a one-off like it was at LSU 2 years ago? 2 years ago? Is this a one-off for Georgia? Is this the only shot they got? Or is this the turning of the page on the chapter of Bama and moving on to Georgia? The whole back and forth and the who's up top and who's in charge is interesting to see, because you can kind of feel like it's starting to shift a little bit. Saban is getting up there. The man isn't immortal. He is not. He's gonna have to retire. He's gonna have to retire at some point. So
he's got 2 fake hips.
I know he's good for another 60,000 miles or 10. Was it 6,000 miles? I don't remember. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go from here. I feel like the pecking order has kind of been reset a little bit with Georgia actually getting over that hump. And it's just going to be a wild, crazy year next year. It'll be especially crazy if and when the SEC moves some people in, Texas and Oklahoma, and then where they're going to put 2 teams to make it even on the East and the West. I have a sneaking suspicion it might be Auburn and Bama that move to the East, would be my guess, if we're going strictly off geography. And that could create a whole new kettle of fish for the,
I think we'll divide them. I think we'll get
they're going to have
Texas
to do the pod
in the
thing,
East and Oklahoma in the West.
Yeah, but how are you going to work that though? Like,
it's so many teams.
I feel like the best, if you're gonna draw a line down the middle of the conference, you're gonna have to move Auburn and Alabama to the East, which would be nice if Tennessee's not the only people that have to play friggin' Alabama every year. Just saying.
I have a question for Jack and Wes. I'm very curious. We talk about Stetson Bennett and how lovely this story is. One advice, Stetson: don't post getting drunk before an interview and doing other extracurricular activities on your Snapchat prior to going on Good Morning America. It goes around the internet.
He was just tired.
Jesse, he's a champion. He can do whatever he wants.
I'm just saying, pro tip.
He's got the shoes of a champion, right, Matt?
Every guy
not the
across
shoes of champion.
The coolest thing ever. Hilarious.
I know. But my question for you guys is, obviously Stetson Bennett's the guy that got you there. He's the guy that ultimately sealed the deal. Do you think number one, do you think you get to the national championship? And number 2, do you think you win the national championship with JT Daniels instead of Stetson Bennett?
No.
So when you watch the number of times that the defense got to the quarterback, gosh, how many sacks would have been? When you look at the way that Stetson was able to get away from the pressure and roll out, even on some incompletions that he had, I mean, in my mind, every single one of those would have been a sack of JT.
And with how injury prone it seems JT Daniels is, I don't think he lasts the whole game.
True. And there's a lot of speculation going on because, everybody gets an extra year of eligibility because of COVID. So it actually seems like Stetson will probably be back next year, because it's not like he doesn't exactly have a bright NFL future. So,
why not ride it one more time?
He may stick it out, in which case, now our quarterback room is getting full again, and we have, some more interesting situations to talk about. And
finally, Kirby can say, "I figured out a quarterback controversy. Shut up and leave me alone."
Right? Yeah, he did say that.
Who'd have thought the walk-on would be it from the man who gets 5 stars off trees?
Oh, I love it because he stuck with them, had to answer all the questions. But anyway, I want to go ahead and get to your thoughts, Jack, on the game, and then I have a couple of questions for you to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, well, so first off, the game was, I became a Bulldog fan at 3. If you saw my Instagram post, my dad moved to vet school in '96. So I've been a Georgia fan since the Jim Donnan years. And this was definitely, besides graduating, all the basics, normal stuff, like meeting my wife or getting married and all that stuff. That was definitely the most fun and exciting, fulfilling day I'd ever have as a life. And it comes from me not only being a Georgia fan, but having been a walk-on, having been a football player at Georgia, having suffered some of the Bama losses where I was 5 yards away from beating Notre Dame, because Jessi knows we would have beat them just as bad as they did that year, because Notre Dame was trash.
Yep.
It was really special to me to see, I got to go see this team this year. I live in Athens now. It was definitely an amazing to see. And then seeing, I don't know if you guys saw the videos of downtown Athens, but it was a war zone.
Yeah.
It was absolutely chaos. And I'm really glad I watched that at my house with my parents, which was special to me because, when you're with your families, and it was my parents and my wife, and my dad took me to all the Jordan games. He was growing up, they were there for me all the walk-on years. They were always my biggest fans. And, my most special moments are going to games with my dad, like most people have when when I have a little kid, if I have a son or a daughter, I'm gonna do the same thing. So it's having my parents there and knowing that they steered me to this thing that brought me a lot of joy and happiness and tears before this, and happy tears. And having my wife there, who I met at a Georgia game, essentially, weekend, and how we live here. So to get the sappy stuff out of the way, it was very special. And Jessi and all them can laugh at us, because we haven't had him before. But I imagine, Jessi, if you were in our shoes, if you had just had this, you would be, I'm sure. I talked to Cody, my best friend who I know her through, and we would have. Cody told me, he even told me after second 26, he was actually kind of bummed for me because he wanted me to have one because he knew how much fun they were for Bama fans. They've had enough.
Oh yeah.
Not joking away, but so that was why it was really special. I drove around town the next morning before I went to work for some stuff, and like the bookstores, there were the lines out the bookstores, and it was like 9 a.m. There were people outside the Butts Mirror. There were about 50, 60 people outside the Butts Mirror 4 hours before the team even showed up from the airport.
Yeah.
All of those bookstores had all the championship stuff already sold out. I went in there to go see the view of it because I already bought all my stuff at 3 a.m. still drunk from the night before the game. So I've already probably bought $200 worth of championship stuff, and I don't care. I do not care. And so, yeah, the game though, from a football standpoint, it was really interesting to watch because you could see that Bama really brought it defensively. You could tell they did their homework. Christian Harris had an amazing game. That guy was all over the field. He made some money. And you could tell early on that our defense had made some adjustments, that they were getting after it. I think we all thought I thought when that fumble happened, the first few plays, that was a touchdown. I was like, here we go. And then I saw it got turned away and I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to happen. But the defense I thought played great. The offense, you could tell, was struggling to have some rhythm. Stetson, you could tell needed to calm down. The whole offense did, and then definitely a field goal battle early on. Paul did great. Alabama's kicker, Reichert, where they finally found a kicker. I give him credit. They did. Mm-hmm. He didn't miss a kick.
We talked about that during the game too.
Oh yeah. But because imagine if that had been the kickers of our colleges, Jessi, it would have been a 6-0 game possibly.
It would have been 0 points.
They maybe even missed 2 extra points for all we know. But really though, like halftime comes. I also, by the way, I went into the game thinking I'm rooting for us, obviously, but I was fully expecting Alabama to win. I was ready to be hurt. The whole game, I wasn't getting too high, too much. I was just fully expecting us to get something to happen. And then when Stetson had that, I'm not even calling it a fumble because that was one of the weirdest fumbles I've ever seen. Like the ball ended up like 15 yards down the field. That was a pass, and the guy caught it like you're going out of bounds on practice, like just catching a ball.
Right, that was funny.
And he was like this close to being out of bounds. Like that was the weirdest. But anyway, they got the ball back, and then every Georgia fan in the it's late early fourth quarter, you're like, oh boy, here we go. We've seen this before every time. And then they score a touchdown on the 3rd and goal, which our red zone defense was phenomenal. I couldn't believe that we held the Heisman guy to that. It was crazy. And then Stetson just comes out the next drive and says, I'm going to have the balls to do this, and no one's going to stop me. And just went out there and zing, zing, sack, zing, and just throws it right over to Mitchell, which was a beautiful pass. That was a Bryce Young pass.
I don't know how our defender didn't turn around.
It was a Bryce Young pass. Like those are the passes that everyone's talking about all year. And I know I've been on the show all year with you guys, but I'll tell you right now, Stetson Bennett is a phenomenal deep ball quarterback. For everyone that says, oh, we want JT, his arm's stronger. I'm like, man, go watch the tape. That guy can spin it. He can put it right on the money. There are passes after passes all year where he's putting it right there. He doesn't throw balls. Like when he gets that play action offense that's his bread and butter, like Kirby talked about with Reese Davis the next day. And he just spun it right there. Exactly what a veteran QB should do. When you have a guy jump off sides like that, free play, just go for it. Because even if you don't complete it, the play doesn't count anyway. If it goes out of bounds or it's incomplete.
Well, even that first one with Pickens, first long one. So
yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how Pickens only had one catch in that entire game. They must have had him covered up. It's the only thing I can
Well, there
think.
was another big PI call on him later too.
That's true. That's true.
Well, not on him, but I mean, you know what I mean.
And then defense comes back, holds them, you know, like they'd been doing all game. I credit our punter and our special teams. They won. The punter is our kickoff guy. He hits out of the end zone every time. And then when we did get stalled early on, he was pinning Bama. He was flipping the field. And he was putting Bryce in the making, hey, y'all got to go earn it. I'm going to make y'all go 80, 90 yards instead of 60 or 50. And that's a big deal for a defense. You know, when you know that you got them and they got 80 yards to go, and same for an offense. You're like, man, I know we're explosive, but man, you got to go 80 yards every play. That's a lot of pressure on them. So for him to put them in that situation really helped them a lot. And then we come back, Stetson throws a pretty ballsy throw. We come out and run it. And then 3rd and 1, and you throw a little like screen dump pass to Bowers, which I thought Battle was going to tip it. And I was like, oh, here we go. A tip pass all over again. Like Georgia fan. Like that was my PTSD. Because I was right there in that corner during that game when they did that for comedy. And Bowers catches it, scores. And that's when I thought, man, oh my God, it's 3 minutes, like it's 8 points, it's still a single possession game, but man, we got it. I was more excited because tight ends, that's my family. Our tight end group chat that we all have from our guys who played, it was going insane. During that our coach Lily, my coach who's now at UNC, was even getting really excited for us, which is awesome. But then Bryce comes out, they throw a couple of passes. I thought the play that doesn't get talked about enough, that people are, everyone's talking about the Ringo catch, the Bowers touchdown, the Mitchell catch, all that stuff. When Brian Robinson got that slant pass, he was gone. Like if that guy didn't tackle him, Chris Smith, he's gone. And it's right down the middle of the field. And it's, it might be tie game at that point. But our guy tackles him. And then like 2 plays later, Bryce throws the pick and Keeley gets it. And you just see I think I didn't even really watch the entire interception return. I was too busy freaking out with my family, hugging and kissing the whole time. So we had to rewind it. And then he scores. And then I think we all fell down. Our dogs were barking, everybody. I think the entire state of Georgia's decibel level went up this high, and then game blouses. It's over. And you had to wait till the clock hit. I didn't believe it was gonna happen until the clock hit final. I was like, because every Georgia fan knew that something could happen. Keeley's running back, pop the ball, something, Some referee says, "Oh, he was offsides." The defender, how is it the cornerback offsides? Something like that. So those are my short thoughts. So I'm happy to hear.
Did you see Kirby though? To your point, did you see Kirby as soon as
Kirby had been working on his box jumps?
That too. But did you see when he was running it back? As soon as he caught the ball, Kirby was going, "Get down, the whole time." Which
is what Keeley should have done, to be fair. But when you got that convoy ahead of you, you're go. And the good thing for him was he's right by the sideline. So if he's feeling any threat, he can just go out the sideline. But I think when he saw, how are you going to tell that kid, hey man, the open alley's there to seal the game.
Right.
To get down. I know Kirby, that's the right thing to do, but it's funny because you see Kirby go down, down, down. And he gets everybody goes, go, 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 go.
Right. Yeah. As he got further down the field, he's like, oh, nope, never mind, kid. Just keep going. So
my favorite photo is of Mary Beth Smart and her kids celebrating there in the end zone. You see it if you look on the view, and that's pretty awesome, because Jessi could speak from a women's perspective, but imagine that coach's wife, the stress she's felt the last 5-6 years. Yeah, I don't think there is anyone happier than besides all the people that could have been happy in there. The happiest person besides the obvious is Mary Beth Smart, because she gets to not carry the brunt anymore, and her husband can relax from, just get that big monkey off his back, and he can do whatever he needs to from now on. Or hopefully I'm winning national championships. I want us to do the right thing. I want to be proud of the program I was a part of for 4 years and still help out and donate, and all that stuff too. But I'll take this. I can die happy, man. That was so awesome. And he I know Jess felt probably the same way after the Rose Bowl. You're in your junior, you're like, man, that was awesome. I can die now. But and now here you go.
And Kirby doesn't
Natties don't get old. I'll tell you that. They never.
No, I bet they don't.
He doesn't have to listen to the Mark Richt comparisons any longer, which were kind of getting ridiculous anyway.
No, they weren't.
And that's not
no,
a slight.
They were not getting ridiculous. They weren't ridiculous. The numbers don't lie, Wes.
Well, hold on. Before we go any further, I want to be clear. That's not a slight. I did like Mark Richt. It's not that I didn't like the guy, but I understand where people are coming from when they make that comparison. They're trying to say that Kirby wasn't ever going to be able to win the big one, and obviously, we already knew that he was doing better because he at least got us to one national title game, and now two. And then fortunately, the team was able to seal the deal and quiet that conversation. So. To your point, Jack, that he didn't have
I work out here at a gym run by Coach Rick and his son here in Athens. They have one of those D1 ones run by probably the fullback for Tennessee for Peyton Manning, which is really cool. They're like a combine style gym that are out throughout the country that they do. It's where Tebow trained, and the guy who runs it is, I think his name is Bartholomew. He was the fullback for Tennessee during Peyton's years.
Yeah, I remember.
You know that name. So. But I talked to John Rick, Coach's son, before the game, like a few days before, and he said that his dad he decided he really wanted to go to the game, to be there, for them. So they were him and his son, Coach Rick and his son and their other son were up in the box at the game as well. So that was really cool. You can tell the coach was really excited and happy. You could tell on social media afterwards, because you imagine the amount of time and sweat and tears he put into it,
Absolutely.
Georgia, it's something to say. I'm sure Bama had more coaches that were like retired after Georgia, because every coach that's coached at Georgia, aside from Rick, has pretty much retired, after the job. But from Vince Dooley, Ray Goff, Jim Donnan, Coach Rick, they all live in Athens, which tells you a lot about
our coaches
Athens is a fun time.
don't.
Yeah, Tuscaloosa isn't exactly like a really retirement kind of vibe.
Well, our coaches typically get.
They also get run out of town.
Our coordinators get poached.
That's
so they go somewhere else.
Yeah, they do.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, you're welcome for giving him to you. You're welcome for giving him to you. He came to Bama from Georgia, so you're welcome.
Yep. But
wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. You can't say that, because he came from LSU. And then he came from Miami, and then he came from Bama.
Well, ultimately.
Just calling it what I see.
Yeah.
There's UGA next to his alma mater. So
it was always in his heart.
Okay,
it was always
that.
in his heart.
So
and for us, some of our coaches, before Saban, our coaches did get run out of town because they were terrible. We were a terrible program. It was rough years. If I had to hear another Auburn fan being like, fear the thumb, just no. And then we finally, in 2007 get Coach Saban, and he really turned our program completely around.
Yeah, Jessi, now you can tell them that fear the thumb of national championships I have.
This is a fun conversation for me, by the way, just so we're all clear on that. Being on the other end of the spectrum. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Just keep telling me how it'll get better.
Matt, on your point, man, I was so pissed at those refs at y'all's bowl game, by the way. That was the worst call. I felt really bad for you guys, man. I really did. I was like, that's not cool. That was a messed up call.
I think everybody in the conference, even probably the people that hate Tennessee with a passion, are like, you can't make that call.
I root for every SEC team in the bowl game, because that's more money for us. It's more money for everybody. The more money you win.
I used to be like that.
I wonder how much money we got from having two programs in the Natty.
Hopefully enough to hire some damn officials full time.
We need to audit whatever official school they're going to.
Jessi, I'm gonna tell you, it's millions with a lot of S's, probably.
I like that.
I'm
into that.
The conference got a lot of millions.
No, that'd be good for the conference, seeing how the conference is hurting for money like that. Oh wait.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I know. Who was the guy, the columnist, who this week said that there only needs to be one allocated spot for an SEC, or for the untrustworthy SEC in the CFP playoffs.
Who said that?
It was
say that.
It was some journalist. I can't remember which paper it was for.
Two other conferences got a chance to beat and have no SEC teams in it in the Natty.
Exactly.
And one
of them
simple, that was undefeated that told us that they deserved a seat at the table, blah, 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 blah. And
the last two losses are to Georgia and Alabama for that program. Just saying it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's pretty respectable.
Who would you have put there instead? Say, because
Notre
if you
Dame was
go on
next in
rankings-
line.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If you take Georgia out, because Bama was ranked higher going into it, you take Georgia out, you're putting Notre Dame there?
Right.
Imagine that, Natty. Oh, wait, we've seen it.
Okay, so I just found this article. This is on the Washington Examiner. This is an article by a fellow by the name of Con Carroll. And he said, quote, instead of rewarding the SEC with even more playoff spots, college football should go in the opposite direction and only give them one, unquote.
Or they could just do it fairly. Friday Night Lights. How about you just beat them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Or win your games so that you can be. Oregon had every chance to be there. They lost. Ohio State had every chance to be there. Absolutely. They were probably the second or third best team in the country this year. They lost twice to Oregon and Michigan. You know, there's all sorts of chances you have to be there. And I'm sorry, but the cream rises to the top. And, you know, there's a committee now. They're looking every week. And if you're not winning your games, I mean, I hate to say, like I said, I know you're just reading the article. It's like, but yeah, I'm like, man, if you're mad, and I mean, I know we could probably have a whole other topic later on about this football playoff expansion talk, which is like beating your head against the wall.
Right.
The people that are saying no to the playoff expansion are the ones who need it the most.
Exactly.
Because the SEC is like, dude, we'll stay at 4 because we're kicking ass at 4. You know, that's fine. If you want to get it to 8, okay, we'll bring in LSU. We'll bring in, you know, Florida whenever these teams are good, or Tennessee, you know, like we'll still beat you, you know, or 12, same thing. Like if you need more money for you, that's great. We'll host all the games because we're not going to be a higher seed, you know. So if you're going to campus, so it's like,
yeah, I don't
know why they're saying no to that, because they want a chance.
It's counterproductive to the points that they're making.
Silly.
It's completely counterproductive, and I don't understand it either. But
Silly.
I don't know. You know who's somebody who I was thinking about so I rewatched the game yesterday, and at the end of the game, somebody who I was thinking about must have like the weirdest mixed emotions. Dan Lanning, as he's standing there on the field with the confetti falling around him. It's probably hitting him at that moment where like, okay, my job here is done. Now I got to go to work for Oregon. And the first team that I play with my new team is the one that I'm standing with right here.
So, that's right.
In the Benz.
Yeah.
That's
opening
right.
game day will be there.
I forgot about that.
That'll be the most hyped game of the offseason, as we all know.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't even think about
that.
It'll
be either that one or Notre Dame, Ohio State. So
crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just went through my mind. I was watching. I was like, man, that has to be some weird feelings right now, because he's obviously elated at a job well done, but also realization I got a lot of work to do as well.
Yeah. And one thing I want to mention, we just touched on it earlier, but I was talking about it today with one of my coworkers. Is we talked a lot when we were doing the bowl recap on how players in the lesser bowls, for lack of a better word, the non-playoff bowls, they will sit out to avoid injury in order to go into the NFL draft. We see the story of Matt Corral, which was super sad. Glad that he'll, you know, be able to recover. It's not a super serious injury. And we talked about how when you're playing in the playoffs, those players really don't get that option. I mean, it's an option, but like, is it? No. Who's not going to play for a natty? And I think, you know, Jameson Williams, that was the perfect example. Is he didn't get to sit out, especially because Mechie was already out after the Cotton Bowl. And then he goes into a national championship and comes out with a torn ACL. And he's somebody going to the draft. He's somebody with a decently high draft stock. So it's just something interesting to think about. You know, there's no ruling you can make on it, right? Where you say that you can't sit out, or, you know, you should sit out or whatever. It's just, it's tough to see, because some of those guys that really do have high draft stocks, because they are playing for teams that are in contention for a national championship, don't get that option of sitting out, because they will screw their team out of a natty.
I think for my opinion on that, Jessi, is, yeah, as long as the first round money is that big for some of those, I mean, let's be honest, there's only 32 first round picks. There's probably, give or take a year, in the playoff, maybe like 7 or 8 guys usually that might be in the first round that are playing in the playoff. You know, Bama's gonna have a majority usually, as for past results. You know, there's gonna be a couple, but as long as the money's like, for example, like the difference between the first pick and like the 15th pick is like $20 million.
Yeah,
and that's a reason why Caleb Williams is leaving Oklahoma, because he knows that if I stay here and I don't develop or look great, I could lose 15 to $20 million. Whereas I go to probably USC where he's going to Lincoln Riley and get coached up, he's going to be the number one pick. And then you have guys, like you said, for the bowl games. I mean, the NFL and obviously college football do not talk. That's obviously very obvious, as we know. And I think the only way you're going to make that happen is an expanded playoffs, make these guys know to play longer, you know, in terms of like the Sugar Bowl and the other bowls that aren't the playoff bowls at the time. Or those, I mean, guys, there's so much money. ESPN and like Tostitos or PlayStation, whoever is sponsoring the bowl, can say, hey, Jameson Williams, we'll pay you $1 million to play in this one game. And you might be like, hey, you know, I'll do it. Because I guarantee you, there are going to be guys, agents are going to see what happened to Jameson and Matt, and they're going to start telling some of these guys that are of that level, hey, why are you playing? But I'd argue back, man, there is so much. I work in the medical field, you know, now that I got out of the Army, and seeing some of these orthopedic surgeries when I was my last job, this last year and a half at Athens, we were doing the surgeries on the UJ football players. Like these guys get prepared, and medicine has come so far that Jameson's going to tear his ACL, guys, and I guarantee you he'll be on an NFL roster, possibly starting if he's that good.
We even talked about Tua last week. You know, Tua's hip injury.
Oh, that was
awful. It was awful, and now he's the starting QB for a.
And he started the first game for the Dolphins when he was there.
It's crazy, but
so that's why, like, I get you could get hurt. I'm like, man, there was a guy for them. I remember a few years ago for the Jeffrey Simmons, the guy from Mississippi State that was really good, the Q tackle. He skipped the bowl game, right? First workout of his combine, like when he's starting to train, he tore his ACL. So like anything can happen. So it's like, why not play, man? I would go back in a heartbeat to play New Mexico Southern State if I had to, if I could only play a couple plays. Not just me, you know, but because I knew that I never had that much football left in my life. If I some of these guys, if they get hurt and like, oh, I missed out, almost all of them, I guarantee, are going later on in life like, man, you know, I wish I would have gone out there with my boys one more time. And it wasn't worth, you know, that money was nice, but those memories, you know, last forever. That money's
now with NIL too, and their ability to make money anyways while they're in school is really we'll start to see those changes a lot, I think, as
and that's why I said, like, I wouldn't be shocked if those companies start selling some of those big time players, like, hey, you're thinking about fitting out? We'll give you big money, because they're going to make tons of money from those players. Like, think how much more people y'all didn't want to tune into the Peach Bowl because Kenny Pickett and Kenneth Walker weren't playing. I know they weren't. It was the Pittsburgh and Michigan State, you know, but still, the average football fan or the ones who are looking are be like, oh, who's playing? Oh, this great quarterback was a Heisman finalist from Pittsburgh, and this the best running back in the country who was a beast. Oh, and then you find out they're not playing. You're like, why am I going to watch that game? You know? So
yeah.
Well, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I do want to pick your brain, Jack, since you're the only one on the show right now who actually played any collegiate ball. But like,
that would have been Jessi would have been a great flag football quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm made for linebacker.
I was thinking Mike linebacker.
She's a linebacker mentality.
Put her at Mike. Let her call the defense. I think it's a great idea. Could you see Jessi getting in the face of a safety, be like, you got to get the coverage right?
She'd be like Kobe Dean last night, getting in Tindall's ass.
Right. Yeah.
Never happened that play.
Oh man, that was also a great moment, because the very next play made a good one right after that. But as a former walk-on yourself, like, what does it mean, like, to watch somebody like a Stetson Bennett? Because I know mentally you can put yourself there, what he's going through. Like, what does it mean to watch somebody like that fight through that adversity and do something like this?
Oh, dude, that's one of the reasons why I kind of teared up last night or the night before, because like he started his career sharing a locker. I know how that feels. Like, I'm nowhere near the talent that Stetson is or had the same journey as he did. I mean, his journey it really is a real life Rudy story. And y'all know someone's going to make some kind of, you know, film about it or documentary about it sooner or later. It screams 30 for 30, if not at least for an SEC one, you know, but it meant
got
so
a nickname,
much.
Mailman.
Yeah. The mailman, you know, like, it meant so much as a walk-on to see that. I mean, all walk-ons, like, you know, all across Georgia for past, and, you know, we all really root for Stetson. We all know what he went through, you know, when you're getting told to do the exact same things as all the other guys, and you don't get any of the, you don't even get to have your own locker. You're sharing it with the guy. I've been there. I know how that feels. Every bowl game I went to, they didn't have enough lockers for us, so I had to literally have a little chair with my entire stuff, and you had to share that chair sometimes with another person. Or you're in the back corner where all the other guys are in the big NFL lockers of bowls. You're in the back closet with the other team or the rest of the walk-on. So we all really felt for Stetson, we all were rooting for him because he was one of us. We all know what he was going through, and for him to be the first walk-on to ever win a national championship and to beat the mighty Nick Saban and the Alabama team and like spell all those demons. I mean, y'all, if I ever see Stetson, I don't care where he is. I'm like, hey man, what are you drinking? What do you eat?
That man's never paying for a beer ever again.
Never.
Ever again.
He's going to be hungover on every Good Morning America show for the rest of his life in Athens like that. Which, by the way, I know Jessi laughed, but that was one of the funniest interviews I've ever seen.
Oh man, so good.
It was awesome.
The like screen grab of his face at one point, you're like,
just like he's like,
oh,
how much time you got? Not much, Michael.
You can just tell in his mind.
Michael, you know what's good when he's calling Michael Strahan by first name. I'm not saving much, Michael. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was the walk-on thing though. It was awesome, man. I mean, just like you felt so happy for him. I don't even know the guy. I wish I did. Like I said, but it sounds like he's got a great family, great story. And you can't help but think, man, that take your Bama hat off for a second and think, man, that's pretty damn cool. That's pretty awesome for him. And the 5th-year senior to come back, and like you said, he could come back another year. Personally, I'd walk off in the sunset.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't want him to come back because he'd be awesome, but like you said, Matt, everybody, it's like you could, but you're gonna have a crowded quarterback room. It's gonna create more controversy. I mean, personally, seeing all the crap that he went through, guys, on message boards and friends that were doubting him, I'm like,
left and right,
and I'm like, man, y'all are so spoiled. I don't know how good that man was and saved your ass so many times. Like, if I were him, I'd be like, hey, like he said, I'm going to law school, graduated. If I were him, I'd stay on as a GA.
Right.
Yeah.
Go out as a legend.
You could still get to play quarterback as
like
a GA.
Nolan. Like Zeb Nolan.
Sometimes things happen.
The mailman comes back. He's always but yeah, seriously, if I were him, you're asking me, I would say, guys, I'm out. I did everything I could. Every Georgia fan should be supportive and appreciative of the rest of their lives. I'm gonna go be a GA while I go to law school.
Yeah.
Like a voluntary coach, go to law school, and man, just make money the rest of your life because that dude's gonna be just set for life, man. But the amount of money. Now, people can say you have NIL money, but as soon as that man throws an incompletion against Oregon, everyone's gonna be like, "Where's Brock Vandagriff? Where's Brock Vandagriff? Where's Gunnar Stockton?" And I'd be like, dude, I am done with that. Like, out.
Right.
Leave on top.
Sunset, bro. Dude, absolutely. Right off into the sunset. Man. It is never going to get any better than this.
And yeah, like you said, basically go out as a legend, with the story and everything.
Make a statue. Make a walk-on rows of Stetson Bennett statue.
With that
walk-on rows.
Oh man, would that not be awesome?
If I had the money, I would make one for him, man. As I'm telling you, people will do that shit in Georgia.
The what? I need a lore explanation, please. A walk-on what?
The walk-on rows. Well, so in the locker room, there's all the scholarship guys, right? And then there's the walk-on rows where all the walk-ons would have their locker
rows.
Okay. Yeah, Stetson used to share one, and then when he betrayed us and went on scholarship, so he was he wasn't one of us, but he still was always one of us. But he yeah, dude, I'm telling you, if I had the money, I would get my walk-on buddies together from the past and say, let's make a statue for Stetson and put it in the walk-on rows and say, that's our king. That's the man we worship to. He's our hero. So
leave while you are the legend and don't stay long enough for you to become the villain.
Maybe Nick should take that advice. What an interesting thought.
He's still my hero. He's still our Lord and Savior.
So Jessi, I have a good question for you just to kind of get the group going. So if Saban decided tomorrow, it's a good discussion question. I want to get a Bama fan's opinion. Let's say tomorrow Saban decides, I'm out. I'm done. Did everything I could. I know you're sweating.
Why are you trying to give her palpitations,
Who as a
Jack?
Bama fan right now, like you have the team you have coming next who as a Bama fan would you want to be the head coach tomorrow? Saban said.
Dabo Swinney.
Okay.
Wow, that
Dabo
was
Swinney.
fast.
I've said it.
She
I've said it for the
didn't even
past
think
few
about
years.
it.
No, I've said it the past few years. There's no doubt in my mind that when Saban leaves, we will get Dabo Swinney. It's the same thing. Everyone's like, he built so much at Clemson. Sure. But there's something so special about coaching at your alma mater. And he has all of the tools. Here's a 5-star recruiting class. Here you go. And here's the conference you played for, the school you played for. And I think it's going to take a very special person to fill Nick Saban's shoes. And I think he will have the guts to step into that, because not many people are going to want to step into that role. And I don't blame them, because our fan base is going to be atrocious.
Yeah, you want to be the guy who replaces the guy. You don't want to be the guy who replaces Saban. You want to be the guy who replaces the guy. But,
exactly.
So Wes, Matt, who would y'all think as a non-Bama fan? Who would y'all? Well, let me rephrase that. Who's Jessi? Who's y'all's AD? Greg Byrne. If you're Greg Byrne, who do you call first? And you can call anybody.
So I think Jessi.
Realistically, who do you call?
I think she makes a
don't
good
say Bill
point.
Belichick, because he's not going to.
No.
Not about it.
It's not going to happen.
Even though come anyway, him and Nick Saban are the same guy.
I was going to say they're the same person, but
and they're both lizard people.
I don't even know where to go from this. But yeah, Jessi makes a good point, and honestly, I would have said probably not Dabo Swinney until I thought about the fact that this year was a little bit down. And, you just never know, especially at Clemson, who has been kind of the face of the ACC for a long time. Now they're not. And now the ACC is just kind of in the crapper. And so, I think that's a real possibility. And if I was Greg Byrne, I probably would. I think that would be a no-brainer for me, because I think he, like we said, you don't want to be the guy who replaces Nick, but I think he's one of the few who could probably handle that and be successful.
Either that or somebody on the board, some booster gets real drunk, and for some reason decides to call the man that has too much audacity and would just waltz on in.
I know where this is going.
To Tuscaloosa.
I know where.
And someone makes a call to Lane Kiffin, and all hell breaks loose.
That's who I'd call.
I don't want that voodoo. Please don't put that voodoo on the world.
Oh man.
Because then I'll have to go back to hating Lane, and I don't want that.
Can you imagine somebody with the just, could care less attitude of Lane and put him at the helm, at Bama? Oh man.
So Dabo's obvious. Know that. Does he leave Clemson after what he's done there? Possibly. I think. By the way, I'm not speculating that Saban's leaving. I'm just saying we're talking here for fun. He's not.
No, he's got to win one more natty, then he'll quit.
Yeah, he's got to get revenge on Kirby. You know who I would call if I'm Bama? Mel Tucker.
Yeah.
You got the diversity thing, which y'all know is a buzzword nowadays. He coached there, won a national championship there with Saban and them. Guy's a heck of a recruiter. He's coached in the South.
Well, look what he did at
Michigan. He knows how to do the transfer portal.
Right.
So
did you see
like I said, if it happened tomorrow, the iron's hot on Mel Tucker. I would give him like a serious, hey man, you want to come to Bama and come change the world? I say change the world, you know what I mean? But like make some people like, oh wow. In Dixie, you're gonna hire that guy and be winning natties.
Yeah. So I mean, he's done wonders up at Michigan State. So
yeah.
I agree though. Dabo I'd call first, but when Dabo tells me no and he says that we're family here, we're all in, I'd say, hey Mel, let's have a call to Jimmy Sexton and say let's get going on.
Although Dabo is making himself look worse and worse every year, whereas every new thing that comes out, he's against it. It seems like, whether it be transfer portal or NIL or what have you.
I think he'll get away with that for one more year.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do the transfer portal after this year and they have another 9-3 or 8-4 year and DJ is not the dude, I let you live in South Carolina. They're going to be coming after. They're going to want more. Those Clemson people have gotten pretty fat and happy recently. They're going to be like, hey man, like everyone else is going here and we're stuck in neutral because you're you're putting pride before everything.
It's amazing what some boosters can change your mind about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because Jessi, if he goes to Bama and tries to say that, Bama's like, what? How so many great players has Bama had now out of the transfer portal?
So I mean,
they had like
you can do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can name so many of our starters from this current team. Ohio State transfer, a transfer from Tennessee. Like we got them. So
yeah,
we are welcoming in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That is one plus about Bama losing is Henry Toto didn't get that.
I was gonna say you said basically that in when we were watching the game. Yeah, I can understand that.
Matt, tell me he's a trader with a power T.
No, look, that's the thing, and I got a little bit of rancor from some of the other people on Twitter. It was a business decision. I understood it, and I completely get it. If you're trying to get to the next level and you're at Tennessee and you're looking around going, we're getting a new coach, it's going to be a new system. Now I'm looking at Bama. Bama's saying they want me to come down there. I could probably get my stock up. Sure. I get the business decision, but it just
it hurt your feelings.
It didn't. No, it hurt my heart. Yes, but my brain didn't really feel it.
Yeah.
Logically, it made sense.
It
made all the sense in the world. Although it did bother me a little bit seeing Alvin Kamara standing on the Bama sidelines on Monday night.
That was a little weird to me.
I know.
I saw. I was like,
T.O. decked out.
Yeah, I saw T.O. too, and he went to UTC. So I need
T.O.'s from Bama, so T.O.'s from Alabama, so I get that.
Oh, is he?
Alvin's there for like 2 years and like barely even, or not even 2 years, and like doesn't even play.
Yeah,
I'm like, he's gonna be there as a friend of Mark Ingram. That's all he's gonna be there.
It made about as much sense. About as much sense as Ric Flair. Wasn't he in Bama attire?
That man roots for whoever every Sunday.
What was his excuse? Didn't he say something like he said
Kirby didn't shake his hand?
Kirby didn't shake his hand one time, and Jim Harbaugh will shake my hand, so I'm pulling for Michigan. So what?
I was at the Carolina Georgia game in 2012 when they kicked our ass and Gainer was there. He was on the field saying how big of a Gamecock fan he was. So that man has so many different capes that he likes to wear.
I think Ric Flair is the definition of mercurial. He's going to play the crowd however he can.
Which
he's a showman.
That's what he does.
Yeah, that's what he does.
And he's probably had one too many, concussions throughout his career. So.
Guaranteed.
That's fair. We're gonna see a documentary one day.
CT is not a joke, kids.
It is not. So
protect your head. Tackle correctly.
Right here.
Does anybody have any more thoughts on the national championship game before we move on? I know Jessi.
Congrats, guys. Congrats.
Jessi's like, I appreciate it. So
thank you, Jessi.
It's been a long time coming.
Matt, congrats to you for living in Georgia and getting through this week.
Listen, I'm trying everything I can. When we went back to work Tuesday morning, first off, I was really tired because we stayed up too late.
It's so late.
Second off,
why can't we have that game on a Saturday? Can we not have that game?
We have had that discussion.
Thanks a lot, NFL.
We've had that discussion.
I'm putting my foot in this podcast. That game should be on Saturday.
I completely agree. The Super Bowl should be played on a Saturday so people can recover the next day.
No, right. National holiday the Monday after the Super Bowl.
Or that.
We could do that. I'd be on board for that 100%. Yeah.
But guys, anyway, when I went and walked around Athens, I went through campus just to go by the bookstore. There were people in classes the Tuesday after the game because it was the first week of school, and they didn't cancel class.
They didn't give them.
I was like, Jerry Moorhead, what the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah, I had to
cancel that shit.
Right.
We can wait a day.
They extended our break long enough for us to not have to go to class after the national championship every single year.
Plus, it's syllabus week. Matt, it's being a teacher role. No one's paying attention anyway.
Nobody's doing anything productive.
Yeah, no one's cared. Just say, hey, we're going to start Wednesday.
Film my video day.
Get here when you can.
Just Zoom everything.
Did you hear yourself, Jessi? You said they used to cancel class for the national championship every single year, and I just think about what you just said there.
I don't want to use the term grotesque, but that was grotesque. That is
hoping we were just gonna murp on over that. But
Even if they weren't in it, they say
Matt.
we're all gonna go watch it down at Rammer Jammer.
Right. Oh, man.
Continue, Matt. Continue. Sorry.
Anyway, like I was saying, all the kids come in wearing all their Georgia paraphernalia, and I'm like, this is my hell. This is where I live now.
Also, they were up way past their bedtime. And
Incredibly.
with the age that you teach, good Lord. No,
Yeah,
thank
it was
you.
a day. It was a day.
Well, Jessi,
But
be
the
happy
best-
you're living in Charleston now, and Clemson was in the Natty and winning, because that would have been hell for you.
I'll leave.
The best part was when one of my kids decided to say Tennessee sucks to me, and I proceeded to not handle that the way I probably should have. And I said, if you can name me 3 people on Georgia's roster right now, then you can say something. She didn't say anything after that. So I made my point.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are that way, but
Educating the children, it's important.
yeah. Well, I know that the talking about it wasn't as much fun for everybody. So let's get into our Just for Fun segment, talking about what is the biggest surprise to you this season, and what's your biggest disappointment. Jessi, would you like to go first?
Sure. I think the biggest surprise this season for me was losing to Texas A&M, was Texas A&M beating us. I did not see that at the beginning of the season, or really while we were playing, or like right before we played it. So that was a huge shock for me. I also think Matt Corral getting knocked out in the second play of the game was a really big shock. So those are probably my 2 biggest surprises. And then disappointment, I have 2. This one's not surprising. Losing the national championship was very disappointing. But the other one is the SEC losing Coach O.
I know, it's so sad. We don't get to listen to that anymore.
I'm just saying, Gene Chizik just left SEC Network. We need Coach O on SEC Network.
Yes.
The
I'm
closed
just saying.
captioning person is going to have to work so hard.
Closed caption. Oh man, those were the best regardless, because there was no hope. It was just kind of whatever on the screen, a bunch of nonsense. So
That's all we want, guys, at midnight when we're coming home from the bars or the games, is the SEC Network recap and just seeing Coach O talk about the Kentucky-Mississippi State game. That's all I want to hear. That's all I want to see.
Absolutely. And then like yelling at somebody for being too loud in the crowd behind him, like he was, remember the time. Yeah. Remember when I think it was it during the national championship, he was doing a press conference.
The presser, yeah.
The guys were back there making
awesome.
too much noise. He's like, hey, try to have a press conference. And
That was awesome.
said that like
he would
twice.
not do well on game day. Like if they needed him to host, no.
Put him on the sideline. Put him on the sideline. Make him the new sideline reporter. Get rid of Holly Rowe. He could be the sideline reporter.
No one would understand a word.
Bitch, I heard him talking about this thing, and they said Jay Craig is ready to go. And go Tigers.
Oh, when
Coach,
they love to eat things on the SEC network
They
these days.
do.
So give him some gumbo,
All right.
some fried chicken on a stick, whatever.
Get rid of Jordan Rodgers or Tim Tebow.
Yes.
And just put like Coach O in there. That's your new segment.
Oh man, it's a great idea. I love that.
I'm just saying.
I'm into it.
I think for me, my biggest surprise might be Arkansas, maybe. Just the kind of season that they had. I think we saw hints of it last year, but man, they really played well this season. I would say either them or possibly even Mississippi State. They were a little shaky, and they were, they could have very easily had 2 more wins on their season this year too. Take away that ridiculous Memphis score with the terrible call there, and then 1 or 2 other real close ones. And man, they have a heck of a season on their hands. I'd say that's a big surprise. Biggest disappointment. I might have to go with, and this might be low hanging fruit, but I might have to go with Connor Bazelak, because I think he was highly touted as somebody who was going to continue to develop and be, a quarterback to be reckoned with. And we just never saw that. Again, we saw regression with him. Possibly might even mention Bo Nix in the same breath, although we kind of already had hints of that.
This is the Bo Nix experience.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Nauseating.
Definition
It's,
roller coaster.
it's almost like a heart monitor.
Down,
You know, the
Right.
Bo Nix experience is like a heart monitor. That's what it is. It's everyone's heart rates too. It can tell
Yeah,
when
but a heart monitor is too steady. Bo Nix was not that steady.
Yeah,
it's almost like Bo Nix is like, know when they have like the flow of the game chart in ESPN where it's just like the probability of winning, it goes up and down. That's like how Bo Nix is.
Like for each score, it's like, man, it's like pinging off each 100%. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's probably it. Yeah, I think that's probably the ones that I can think of. Matt, what do you think?
As far as biggest surprise goes, the final standings in the conference, as far as who finished where, when you look at it, Tennessee finished third, which I don't think anybody anticipated Tennessee to finish third in the SEC East. Kentucky getting to 10 wins, which we knew that Kentucky was going to be decent this year, but I didn't think they were going to get to double digits as far as wins go. Florida finishing 6 and 7. I don't think anybody saw coming. Especially didn't see them firing Mullen this year. Ole Miss having a great season, Arkansas having a great season, Mississippi State going on a heck of a run there at the end. We didn't see coming either. And then the cellar dwellers in the West, Texas A&M, Auburn, and LSU, did not see that coming either, especially Auburn. I thought Auburn would be a little bit better. I bet they're missing the Gus Bus now. But overall, a fantastic season, I think, top to bottom, even given some of the controversies and things like that. And speaking of controversies, my biggest disappointment, if you look behind me, you can see I'm in the SEC home office because I've been spending all this time looking for Greg Sankey so I can talk to him about how we need to fix officiating in the SEC. That is the biggest disappointment this season in college football, top to bottom, is the officiating, not only in the SEC, but across the entire NCAA. It has got to get fixed. They've got to do something. There's too many games that are being screwed out of good finishes or being screwed out of whatever you want to call it. The officiating in the conference and in the country has gotten really, really bad the last couple of years. And that's not just in the college ranks. It's also endemic to the NFL as well. The NFL's run into the same problem. So something's got to break. And I understand that, you can only bark about the officials for so long. And you can only blame them for so much, but the screw ups they had this year, the Memphis, Mississippi State game, the Duke UNC game, the Tennessee Ole Miss game, the Tennessee Purdue game. That's just four examples.
Auburn Penn State game.
Right. Like there's so many bad calls this season. And I know with high def TVs and instant replay and 36,000 cameras on the field, we can see a lot more than they can. And I understand that they have a hard job, but at the same time, something's got to break. So we either got to start calling nothing or calling everything or something.
Especially in the SEC, you talk about how the high standard that the conference has, but yet it seems like the officiating isn't at the same level, right?
Nope.
So, it has been disappointing.
Blaming COVID. We're having a hiring shortage. We need more officials, better officials.
There you go.
I think putting them on the SEC payroll and making this their full-time job would go a long way towards fixing a lot of the issues we run into. Because those guys
making enough money anyway.
Right. That's exactly my point. Because those guys can spend a lot more time, doing clinics and doing like professional development, and there's so many other things they could do, at least for
contacts.
Y'all realize that when Texas and Oklahoma join us in a few years, that each school is going to be making like $75 million.
Yeah.
Profit.
So much money. Those. Yeah. That's one of the first things I thought about when they were joining. That's a lot of money joining the conference.
And not to mention the money the schools take in with tuition and everything else and licensing and all those other things.
The thing is, though, for most colleges and universities, is the football program is what pays for the other sports. The other sports do not typically finish in the green; they finish in the red at the end of the year. And so, football is really what pays for everything. People get mad about the number of scholarships and everything, but you can't compete with an 80-man roster or the money that the football program brings in. So they pay for everything. The only, at least I know on Alabama's campus, the only other sport that we have out of all 25 NCAA sports is softball that finishes in the positive. That's it.
I think for Georgia, it was like football obviously carries everything. Men's basketball, I don't know how we have a sucky men's basketball program, and gymnastics because our gym dogs are pretty awesome. But
our
right, everything else
is close.
Your equestrian team's supposed to be pretty
You guys
good
have
too,
a really great,
yeah,
really
but you can
great
tell you, man, those
equestrian
horses
team.
cost a lot of money.
Them horses are not cheap.
Yeah,
Them
and
horses
moving
are
all
not
those horses too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of specialized care for that. Jack, do you have any biggest surprises of the season or biggest disappointment?
I do now that y'all were hearing y'all talk. So I'm gonna give y'all an SEC one and a national one. So nationally, my biggest surprise was Michigan because what they did was amazing this year. Even though we beat them pretty good in the bowl game. I mean, their defensive coordinator was my old GA at Georgia, Mike McDonald, for 3 years. So we were all the walk-ons. We were all rooting for Mike because he was our boy, like coaching us and doing. He was the head of our scout team for my first 3 years. So I was really excited to see him do well this year. He deserves it. If Dan Lanning left like he was and Kirby didn't already have Mill Muschamp, I was going to tell him, dude, go hire Mike because Mike went to Georgia. He is a Georgia boy. Like he will come home if you pay him the right amount of money. But he did a great job there at Michigan this year. So we'll see. My biggest national disappointment, I'd say not Carolina or not North Carolina or Clemson, just because you're supposed to have Sam Howell. No, I hated North Carolina because my old tight end coach, John Lilly's there. He's my boy, and we all root for him. But his tight ends weren't the problem this year. That offense and that defense couldn't do me. When Georgia Tech scores 46 points against you, dude, that's a problem. And Clemson, y'all know that first game. It was just supposed to be the heavyweight battle, and it was. But their offense was poo-poo, and it didn't get any better throughout the whole year. I mean, they should have probably lost, guys. What? 3 or 4 more games just if their defense didn't save them. Like it was so bad. And then SEC, I'd say big surprise was Kentucky. Just the way that they had been. It's Kentucky, and then but they finally have. I think Mark Stoops might be the best coach not named Kirby or Saban in terms of what they're doing with the talent they have. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Mark Stoops is the hottest name out of the SEC next year for a coaching job somewhere.
They're really great.
Kentucky's going to do everything they can to keep him, I think.
Yeah. And is Will Levis coming back next year? Y'all know? Is he still out too?
I haven't heard.
Believe so.
Him and that kid, Wandale Robinson, are both coming back. So they're going to be and Georgia plays them at Kentucky, and we have not played well at Kentucky in years. So I am very nervous about that game next year.
You better hope it's not a night game.
We play in Starkville versus the Leech Machine, which is scary. So I think Kentucky they're a solid team, man. They're not the Kentucky we knew growing up, And then disappointment. I mean, how can you not say Florida? Like you're Florida, man. How are you? Or Auburn, both. Like Auburn down the stretch was, man. I hate it because Coach Bobo was my OC there, and I thought they were kind of premature to get rid of him that quick. But I don't think that coach mixes well there. I think when they hired Harsin, I was like, really? I don't think he's going to last there.
I didn't understand that hire to begin with.
You get your butt beat by Bama and T-Town this year. They're gonna get rid of you.
Oh yeah.
And then I gotta give a shout out to, as much as I hate to say it, Carolina. I mean, what Beamer and them did, that dude should have been 4-8 and they almost were a few times. But I think with Spencer Rattler next year, I don't know how good they're gonna be. It's gonna be interesting to watch though. They got some buzz around. Yeah. If Rattler was I'd be like Carolina might be okay, but Rattler being there, we'll see. Georgia plays at Carolina next year. That's always a rowdy place. I plan to never go into Williams-Brice ever again because that place is the hottest place in the world in September. It's horrible. I've been there enough growing up for games and everything, so I'll watch that gladly from my lake house and be a happy man in air conditioning. I mean, so we'll see. That'll be an interesting game. Then Florida, Sanford.
Right.
Stanford.
But by the way, I do want to point out that nobody said Josh Heupel, and I'm a little offended. I'm just saying. It was a great.
I forgot about them. You're right, Matt. I think Tennessee down the stretch was the opposite of Auburn. They were, and with Hendon Hooker coming back, they're going to go in the portal again.
Oh, we already picked up that wide receiver out of Wyoming who's supposed to come in and immediately start throwing, being a weapon. So
I'm interested to see just how, because I think their downfall obviously wasn't their offense near the end of the year once they got their groove and learned the thing. I'm interested to see where their defense goes next year.
Yeah.
You know, how do you, because as great as it is, you know, the blessing and curse of that offense is as fast paced they are and they're scoring, it's great. But when you're not scoring and your defense is getting dogged and you go out there and do it again, it's like, even if you're scoring fast, your defense is like, dude, calm down. You know, like, we need a break. So I'm interested to see how they do next year. Now, having a whole season, not COVID, and, you know, guys are obviously conditioned now on that running offense. It's going to be interesting to see what Tennessee does next year. Because it sounded like, I mean, you know way more about Tennessee than I do. I think they put way more emphasis on portal for Josh's offense. And I think this next year, their defense needs to be like, all right, man, like, you know, because I guarantee you, we and Bama have already had 5 guys today enter the portal. And I know from my,
there are a couple Tennessee guys that have announced, but they were no starters, not like it was 2 years
ago. And I
ago.
know I have a couple of really good friends and buddies that are at work at UJ Sports, the Rivals website, that give me some good info, you know, sometimes beforehand. I can guarantee you we're going to have some guys hitting the portal, or, you know, but, you know, y'all seen the portal is like totally overbooked. So there's going to be plenty of people out there if you want to go get one, but is it going to be the right fit for your place? And are they going to be the right fit, not only physically and where they're at? Are they hurt? You know, like, are they transferring because they're hurt all the time? Are they transferring because they just don't play? They want to be homesick. Right. But there are going to be a lot of guys that are going to be like, let's say, you know, we had a cornerback, Jalen Kimber, go in the portal today. He had a hurt shoulder all year. Let's say he goes in the portal, tries to look for somewhere, nowhere really fits for him or likes that's like really worth going to. And then he comes back to Georgia and they say, hey man, we already got your spot filled. Right. Because, you know, Kirby ain't waiting for nobody. You know, I mean, he'll wait, but like, if you're a backup cornerback for 2 years and you haven't been starting, why is he going to waste a scholarship on you, just a spot open, and he can go get a new, you know, defensive end or linebacker? Right. Yeah, the portal is going to be a problem, guys. There's going to be a lot of student athletes across all sports that are going to be looking and aren't going to have a home to come back to. And they're going to be essentially out of a job. Right. You know, unless you're Tank Bigsby. Yeah. No, believe me, people will make space for some people.
They were glad to keep him.
More often than not, the majority of these kids, or the most thing that's going to happen is a lot of them are just going to go to schools that aren't that big of a deal, or they're going to go play, but it's like, you know, you're really getting better for the league there, or are you just trying to play, you know, or like, are you going to, like, we had a receiver, Matt Landers, Wes knows, the guy that I couldn't stand, Matt Landers. He was horrible, but he went to Toledo. Like, yeah. Why you went to Toledo? Or it's like, is that really your best place that you can go to? Or is it just because, guys, like I said, the portal is that stocked of people and there's no spaces for enough people? It's insane.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, speaking of portal, you just jogged a memory. Like, how many places has Demetrius Robertson played at? Remember when he came to us from Cal, right? And then obviously he's playing with Auburn this year. And I don't know if he's had other stops in between, but I just remember seeing him this year and be like, oh, yeah, he used to play for us.
Hey, man.
That's interesting.
He didn't really – hey, man. He was taking up A.D. Mitchell's spot because A.D. Mitchell was a true freshman. So
right.
Good riddance, Demetrius. You know, you were sitting at home with an Auburn jersey on, really thinking about your poor life choices, right?
He never really seemed to gel with the offense anyway. He had a couple of big plays, but never what people expected. People expected him with his speed to really stretch the field and be a weapon.
So slow.
And it just
it's so slow.
Never worked out. Yeah.
It wasn't even hurt.
Right. All right. Anybody else got any more thoughts or anything else that they'd like to get off their chest right now? So,
hey, Wes, look at me and remember, you're a national champion.
That's right. You too, man. Don't forget it.
That, Wes, at the beginning when you introed us, I thought that's what you were going to say. I'm Wes, the national champion.
The national
like that. That's the reason why, if you go back and watch the very beginning, I make a face right at the beginning, and that's what I thought you were going
to do. Right. Well, yeah. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, and I have soaked it in. I've really enjoyed it, but I also recognize that I didn't do a single thing to get it. So
remember, Wes, thou art mortal.
Thou art mortal. That's right. So
I'll leave on this, Wes. I thought about this the day after the game, and I tweeted it. If y'all didn't see it, I said, you know, guys, somewhere this morning, a Bama fan is saying, "Man, it's it's been 1 year since we won the Natty. A Clemson fan is saying, wow, it's been 3 years since we won a Natty. An Auburn fan has said, wow, it's been 11 years since we won a Natty.
Why are we doing
Florida
this?
fan is saying, wow, it's been 13 years since we won a Natty.
Why are we doing
Tennessee fan has been saying, wow, it's been 23 years since we won a Natty. A Tech fan, 30 years. A South Carolina fan, never. But it's not the Dogs now. 41 years is over. 1980 is over. It is 2021, baby.
I will say, isn't that great? Isn't that great? You don't have to. We don't have to listen to the 1980 jokes anymore.
I'm still gonna make
a lot of. That's a lot of great.
And
things.
the Mark Rick version 2.0 jokes. I'm still making them.
That's just lazy, man. It's lazy journalism, Matt. You're better than that.
Matt, we will find something. Don't worry, Georgia.
It feels like 98, Matt. It feels like 98.
I wish it was 98. This is the darkest timeline. This is my hell. The only way you can make this worse is if Vanderbilt was good. That would be the absolute worst.
That means that it's an apocalypse. That means all of humankind, for the most part, has probably died.
Well, I motion that we eject Vanderbilt and pick up North Carolina.
I just can't wait to rub it into Tech fans' faces because they owed 1990 over us, and I was like,
"Oh, that's true.
You guys have the worst football program in rivalry."
And they split that with Colorado. Like, you can't even claim it openly.
Guys, Georgia Tech has not beaten Georgia in Atlanta this entire century. Think about that.
Oh my God.
This entire century, they have not beaten Georgia.
That's an awful stat. They
haven't beaten Georgia in Atlanta since 1999.
Well, Tennessee hasn't beaten Bama since 2005.
Yeah, we had
2006.
Jessi,
we had this discussion. Remember, we said that there's the joke that a Tennessee fan has never been able to send a tweet saying that they've beat Bama.
They've never been able to look at the score on their iPhone.
On their iPhone, right? Yeah. So
listen, whenever that happens,
this is not that podcast, Matt. We are not going to do that.
That's right. We're not going to do that.
I get it.
Whenever y'all beat Saban, because I can tell you, it feels great when you finally do. That's when Bama fans are going to call for his head. That's when they know that the time has come.
Nah.
So,
the Saban effect has turned on him. So
that's not happening.
No, it won't. But all right. Well, hey, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks, Jack, for coming on the show. It was a lot of fun talking to you.
Anytime.
Yeah. So if we appreciate you guys listening to us. If you'd like to hit us up on email, please do so at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. Facebook.com/pigskinsandpageantry. Also on Twitter at PPSEC Podcast. We're on Instagram at Pigskins and Pageantry. Don't forget, we're available for download on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems. Appreciate you guys getting involved on YouTube and TikTok. Tons of comments over there. Thanks to everybody who's gotten in on that conversation. If you guys enjoyed the show, please take a moment, subscribe, and give us a review. We'd love 5 stars. We'd greatly appreciate that. Season's over. We'll have another show for the recruiting classes, and then, man, it's going to be a long time. So, barring any special episodes. So, hey,
recruiting never ends, Paul.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Dan Mullen knows that.
I was about to say, unless you're Dan Mullen, then it does.
Saturday in the stadium, it's a recruiting weekend for Kirby, and
you know it. You know it.
It never stops.
Hey, until next time, this is Wes. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Y'all, the revenge tour starts now. Roll Tide.
Woo!
It's basketball season. I'm going to enjoy basketball season as much as I can. And also, by my count, it's 233 days until kickoff. So we'll get there, folks.
It's almost baseball season.
The Braves have won. We've done everything we need to. Go Vols. Yeah.